So welcome back to the fifth episode of Being Offensive with Azure Cloud. First of all, I would apologize for being late for this episode because I was a bit busy in my personal issues. Yeah, so let's start. So in this video, we are going to talk about web applications, how web applications can be abused, or how can be leveraged to gain initial access, and how by using those default permissions or misconfigurations we can jump from one server to another or gain more data from RCE. So there are typically many Azure services which allows us to host an application, and those are app service, virtual machines, function app, etc. Function app, I already told you it's a serverless application. Virtual machine is just a VM. App services where your typical application are being hosted. So these application might have hard-coded credentials or have managed identity enabled, which can allow us to perform lateral movements. What does that mean? It means that once you have the RCE on the application by file upload vulnerability, SSTI vulnerability, SQL injections, deserialization vulnerability, or any other way from which you can run the commands, there are multiple opportunities where you can try to gain data. The one way is to read the source code from which you might get some credentials. Let's say in the config.php file, where you can find database credentials, Azure connection string, service principal credentials, or any other API key as well. A second option is to list out the environment variables to see if there's any credentials available in the environment variable that can benefit for you. Another is the manage identity. So what is manage identity? So let's say you have your VM, you have your app service, or you have a function app, any compute service under which you are trying to run a code, and where you want that virtual machine or that code to access some resources, which like let's say you are trying to access storage account from app service. So how are you going to do that? There are the different ways. One way is to have a service principal which will have all the permissions to access storage account, and you will use that. Second is to use the storage account access key. By directly using the access key, you can list out all the files or get out the files or perform all the tasks. Third is using the marriage identity, where you tell app service, like you give permissions to the app service itself. That app service, now you can act like a user. I'm giving you some permissions, and now you will be able to directly access the storage account. So how does it work, right? So it works it by getting an access token from the metadata URL. So once you enable the manage identity, and once you provide the permissions there, whatever permissions you want, let's say storage account contributor. So once you provide that contributor role to that app service, so within the source code, internally, you just need to get an access token by the metadata URL, which is going to be 169.254 that URL, and from that you will get the access token, and that access token can be used to perform all the tasks for and to like run all the REST API commands and all. So how can you get that token? So in this one, you can see I'm using a curl command, which is calling an MSI endpoint, which is an environment variable. Then we have resource. The value of the resource is https management.azure.com, which means I'm trying to get an access token of management of Azure management. So but that means this access token will only allow me to list out all the resources, perform some tasks on the resources, and that's it. Only the RM, not the Azure AD part, but only the services part. And then we have a version, API version, and then in the header we have a secret value, which is obviously is being taken from the environment variable. So the first line says SSRF cannot be used to gain tokens from metadata as it requires a header, but can be useful to read files from the for hardcoded credentials. Which means in AWS, if you have an SSRF vulnerability, you can directly just hit a URL and you will get an access token. But that's not the case in Azure. You need to add an header to get a token. So being in a situation where you have a SSRF vulnerability, you can't get token. You need to have RCE vulnerability, only then it's possible to get the access token. But but you can at least read the files from internally until unless you know the directory or the path of that specific file. Then once you gain the command code execution, you can run the following command. Obviously, once you have the injection, I mean command injection privilege, you can directly run this command, curl command, and you will get the access token. Now there are some different resources that you can access. The one was the RM, which is management, ARM, Azure Resource Management. So that was the one. But let's say you want to get a token which can allow you to list out all the users, groups, and like all the Azure AD part. In that case, you will use graph.microsoft.com, which is the graph API. Next, we have Azure RM, which is already I mentioned above. Next is the key vault. So keyword is a bit different. See, by management.azure.com, you can list the key vault, you can read the configurations of the key vault, but to read the secret value of the key vault, like whatever the secret value is being stored within the key vault, to read that or list that, you need to have dedicated access token which belongs to key vault. Only then you will be able to access the value of the secrets. So these were the things that allows you to gain initial which you can do once you have an initial access. So I'll just show you in a practical way how it's done. So let's say you have this application, and this is the curl command which I'm trying to execute. So let me first run the env command to show you the value of this. Let's say env. Now if I search this keyword, you will see. So this MSI endpoint value is HTTP 169.254.129.2 slash MSI slash token. Then what we have here, so it's something like going to be this, where after that you provide a parameter name resource, an API version, and the secret value. So now let's see the secret value, which is going to be MSI secret, which is this. Now to note down, this is not a static secret. It keeps changing. It's basically a dynamic. You cannot use this secret again and again. It will change after a couple of period of time. So now let's execute this curl command and see what happens. I have a access token. Now let me just copy this and paste it here. We just have this specific value. This much. This is not needed for me. So goodbye. So this is the access token which I have. Now how can you use this access token? Like, you don't need to see. You can use REST APIs manually, but you actually don't need to do that. By using the Azure PowerShell module, make sure only Azure PowerShell module, not the Azure CLI. Using the Azure PowerShell module, you can use this token to get logged in. So for which you can use connect Azure account, provide the access token. Okay, paste it here. Yeah, it's basically asking for PowerShell, the key, I pass. Now it should work. Yeah, I also had to provide the account ID. I hope it's visible for you guys. Let me just, okay, account ID. Now account ID can be anything. I don't know why, but I feel like it's a issue in the PowerShell module that it allows you to accept any value in the account ID, which will allow you to get logged in. So now we are logged in with this access token. So now depending on the permissions that this app service has, I can perform all those tasks. Now to check what kind of what resources I can list, you just need to run get az resources. Okay, and I should get some resources. Yeah, so you can see, okay, I can basically read the app service resources. But now let's see what kind of permission do I have. So for which you can run get az role assignment, and what I have is the reader role, reader role, reader role. Okay, I only have reader role. You can even filter list, which is like the the, the scope and the definition name, just to check. So here you can see, okay, so these were all duplicates basically. So it's all one and the same basically. So now this was by using the PowerShell module. But if you ask me, is there any tools which can help me out to automate all these stuffs like enumeration and all those things? Yes, there is a tool. And that tool, actually there are multiple tools, but I would like for you to present my tool, which I have created. Uh, So the tool name is Vajra. Basically, uh, it allows you to perform the enumeration task. Some attack techniques are available also. So now, since you have the token of management of the Azure management, you need to navigate to Azure resources, paste the token here, and click on enumerate. And in just 1 second, you have the results. So just click on the name. You have one subscription. You have one resource group. And under that resource group, we have resources, which is the app service and the service plan. This is the app service plan basically. So by for like whatever service plan you select, according to that you can create multiple app service. So let's say this one app service I created allows you to create 3 app service without having additional cost. So this is how you can perform this enumeration task. Now let's say I want to enumerate Azure AD. So obviously you can do that, for which we just need to update the request from https management.azure.com to graph.microsoft.com. So this should give me another token which belongs to Graph API. Now let me again save this token as well. Copy this token and paste it there. So now let's say if I try to see the decoded value of this JWT, you can see the audience value, or which this one is the audience basically. So you can see it belongs to graph.microsoft.com. Whereas if I do it for this one, this is for management.azure.com. So there's a difference. So now if you run this token in the Azure AD module, so I have already done that. Let me delete this. Now, if I run this, after again a couple of seconds, it should get completed. But what we observe is it's empty. Like I can't even see the profile. There are no users, groups. What this means? It means that I actually don't have any permissions to perform. So how can you validate if I really don't have any permissions? You can do this. Let's for this you can try to list out any users. So let's try to create a custom graph API call by using a curl command. So let's say curl -x get and provide the https graph.microsoft.com /v 1.0 slash users. I hope this is correct. Okay. And -h headers is going to be authorization. Authorization data failure. Paste the token. Okay. So the response is access token is empty. Okay. I think the header is not being properly added. Let me just check how we can do that. Curl, curl. Okay. Oh, sure. So let's add this in this way. It still says access token is empty. I don't know why. Maybe I'm doing some mistake. Authorize. Okay, the spelling is a mistake in the spelling. Yeah. Now it says insufficient privileges to complete the operation, which means that this uh, app service only have permissions to this to the RM basically. So like this app service only have permissions to the management azure.com and not for the Azure AD. So that's the way you can differentiate. Like you can use the tokens, like you can use a different type of token to gain the access. So the next task, if let's say you are able to list out the keyword in the management azure.com. So now, next in next curl command, you can use the keyword vault.azure.com to have the access token of the keyword, and using that keyword, you can again get login. You can again get logged in by by this. So where you just need to provide the keyword access token and the value of the access token. So by using the Azure module, you can use the keyword to get the data of the keyword and of all the secrets within the keyword. So this was all about the app service point of view. In the next topic, we'll talk about some another thing. I'm not sure what we are going to talk about. I think it's about OSINT. So yeah, see you in the next episode.